Welcome to Business Minds. I'm Cindy Bird. I'm a business owner, educator, and thinking partner with a passion for helping people and businesses thrive. I'm so grateful that you're choosing to join the program today. I'm excited to be kicking off a new theme for the month of June, risky business. And while you probably won't see Tom Cruise on the programs this month, I am going to have fun and a lot of great conversation with my guests talking about the biggest risks that they've ever taken in business. And of course, what kind of results and outcomes they experienced from having taken those risks. You know, many things in business involve risk. I mean, just starting a business in the first place involves risk, of course. And often we can be risk averse because it causes stress and uncertainty. But embracing risk is really what we're talking about this month because it can challenge you to think differently. It can get you unstuck and move you forward. It can help you solve problems from a fresh perspective and even differentiate your business. So as we move into a new quarter in the year, perhaps you're feeling stuck. Perhaps you're pondering taking a risk, but you're a little uneasy about it or unsure, and you need some inspiration from others who've paved the way before us. And honestly, I can think of no one that I know in the business world who is more inspiring when it comes to having taken risk and had some great success with it. And that is my very special guest, Dave Alwan. Dave, welcome to the show today.
Thanks, Cindy.
Dave is owner and founder of Echo Valley Meats and also a history-making entrepreneur. He pitched his business successfully a second time on ABC TV's hit show Shark Tank when he landed a deal with billionaire Mark Cuban. So Dave, welcome again, and thanks for sharing your perspectives on risky business.
Thanks for having me. It's always good to share the story.
Well, before we get into those perspectives about risky business, share with our viewers a little bit more about Echo Valley Meats and how you got started in business.
Sure. Well, I am a third-generation cattleman, farmer, and meat processor, so our family's been doing it a long time. However, Echo Valley Meats was born November 1st of 1998. I left our family business in town, which has been in the meat business since 1947. In 96, I said I wanted to get in the internet business and kind of honestly got laughed out of the house. And it was told who would ever order meat through the internet. And so 2 years later, in 1998, I decided to venture out on my own and kind of gamble, so to say. And I guess you'd call it a huge risky business back then because not even a lot of people knew what the internet really was back then. I think AOL and email came out in 1991. So, 5 years into it, I'm talking about mailing meat, and my dad and my uncle just did not get it.
But you did.
I did. I had a vision. As you know, one of my mottos is if your dreams are not bigger than reality, you have a problem with your dreams. And so I like to think big. You have to be prepared to fail along the way, but if you can't think big, you're never going to get there.
Okay. Well, that says a lot about risk in itself. There is potential of failure, and that's probably why a lot of people shy away from it. But I love that quote. If your dreams aren't big enough, there's something wrong with your dreams.
Yeah.
And what were some of the other risks? I mean, obviously, stepping away from an established family-owned business to go out on your own into not a well-chartered landscape of selling meat over the internet. Well, what were some of those other earlier risks that you took?
Well, lots. I mean, I just got married in 98. So, just getting married, deciding to leave the family. Bartonville was the location I took, which was out of the 5 locations we had at the time, which was our very smallest location. So Bartonville is a great town, but it's not a metropolitan city of 400,000 or 500,000 where there's tons of traffic. It's it's a town of 6,000, and I love it there 27 years later. But in order to start a business, we thankfully had a little bit of retail from business, so we had a little bit of cash flow, with everyday traffic and business, but I mean, I won't lie. I went back to the bank and asked them what they would loan me on equity on the farm, and so that's where I got my start. As I had purchased a farm when I was a little bit younger in 1992, ironically, from an 87-year-old lady, and part of the deal was I let her live the rest of her life, but I had to keep the farm name, which was Echo Valley Farms. So you shoot a gun at Echoes for 10 miles, and so when I leave the family, I start Echo Valley Meats, and so there's the two of them kind of, so to say, to go together. So it was a huge risk because here I'm mortgaging my house, which usually you don't do in business, to add on to the meat plant, which back then was, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that was a huge risk. I mean, I decided to go under federal meat inspection, which our family and everybody locally was pretty much state inspection, which means you can only sell in the state of Illinois, not cross state lines or out of the country. So I was taking another step, thinking another vision that I needed to do. So I went under federal inspection. I decided to go to Germany and Denmark and get further trained in processing to come back and be a little better than the average. And so, gosh, it was just a long journey, so to say.
I think I've heard a story about your experience in the early years when you mentioned going to Germany and Austria to learn sausage making
Right,
from the
Germany,
best.
yeah,
But
Germany.
there's a great story I think you have that has to do with something that happened in the sale of that early on.
Well, there's a lot that happened. There was a famous sausage company in town here called Pitch's Sausage that sold out, and they sold out to a guy for a very large sum of money. And 6, 8 months later, he threw in the towel. And so I ended up buying that company and picking up all their recipes. And so that was one of the things that I took to Europe with me as my base, the old Pitch's family recipes, and created off of that. And so built my foundation pretty much off of their recipes. And so I was very fortunate when I came back in 2001, ended up winning some national competitions. Swiss Colony and some of the bigger summer sausage people had contacted us, and next thing you know, we're making product for all them. And so it was interesting to say the least. But I think at the time, what I didn't know, one of the big things about business, the unforeseen, is if you're just going through the motion to take business but don't know your overhead costs or your labor head absorption rate or your employee efficiencies or ways to measure stuff, that's the tools I didn't have in the beginning. And so I'm making 200,000 sausages for Swiss Colony, and I'm losing a nickel a piece. So I'm making
wow.
I'm making them $10 a piece. So $2, $3, $4 million, and I'm losing money. So I learned real quick that it's not always about who you're doing or what you're doing. You have to be efficient. You have to make it count. More importantly, so I'd say that's one of the biggest things that I've learned from early on is take a step back, understand what you're doing, and make sure it counts. There has to be a way to measure it.
Okay, great advice. What I'm hearing you say too, though, is you had this willingness to step out and take these risks, but there was always some learning that you took away from it. Is that right? Is that fair to say?
I'd say I learn every day. I fail every day. I learn every day. And so absolutely. We had this before we went on the air. I say the biggest thing that people are afraid to say is they're afraid to admit what they don't know. You have to be wise enough to admit what you don't know and ask for help around you, because that's how we learn. And I'll be the first to admit when I don't know something, I'm gonna say, I don't know. I mean, first time on Shark Tank when they asked me my customer acquisition costs, I said, I don't know. And they looked at me and said, well, we've never heard that answer. What do we say? You're honest. And so it was
but
great.
that was a risk in and of itself, right?
Being honest.
To be honest and to admit that you didn't know that number. And it
paid off.
Well, it paid off in another way. You didn't get the deal
no,
that first
no.
time, though.
No, but I took their advice and went back and did my homework, and never assuming that or knowing I would get a second opportunity either, but I was ready. That's the other thing in life. We're going to fail no matter what, and what it's in business, whether it's personal, whatever. If not too many of people ever get a second opportunity, so if and when you do, bring your A game and make sure it counts. Nobody gets that second opportunity, so why waste it if you do, unless you just want to go through the motion, and you're content going through the motion, that's one thing. But if you truly want something and go after it, believe in yourself, which, I say all the time to people, believe in yourself and keep driving forward.
And that has carried you through some of the down times, would you say, that belief?
Absolutely. My wife and I just lost a child last fall. So we had a handicapped child that never talked or walked. And so we look at life totally differently, too. It's not a walk in the park. You know what? And we don't live in the pity pool, and the world doesn't know us to live in. It's called life. Get over it, get up, and move on, because you're the one that's going to make the road. You don't expect somebody else to pave your road for you and hand you the keys. Great if you hit the lottery. Good luck if you play the lottery, But in the real world, if you want to make a difference or make it count, don't wait on others, just make it happen. And so I feel that I've always been willing to take the reins and gamble, and I've never been afraid to fail, probably is the biggest thing. And a lot of people are afraid to fail.
Okay.
And,
I love that you're saying that, because I truly believe that's why a lot of people shy away from any kind of risk, is because they are afraid to fail, and it's the mindset they have about that failure, right? They look at it as an end.
Absolutely. One of the sharks sent me one of the greatest emails after the first season. Robert Haverchak said, you know, it was a pleasure to meet you, David. And let me tell you, success comes from the things you overcome in life, not the things you do in life. And you are well on your way. And so I thought, I've never forgot that exact quote. And it's true. Success is from our learning and our curves and the curveballs and everything we have to maneuver through in life. And once we maneuver through it once, it's like a photograph. You remember it and you don't do the same mistake twice, hopefully. So, right?
That's important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think the viewers would be interested in knowing what motivated you to even choose to go on Shark Tank in the first place.
Oh, wow. We were watching it in the first couple seasons in 2012, came home from a soccer tournament, and it was on a Sunday night rerun, and I told my wife that I wanted to go out for Shark Tank, and she laughed at me, and I said, no, I want to go out for Shark Tank. And I've been telling her actually for a couple of years that I'm going to go out for this one day. And so I got on the internet. I said, you're not going to believe this. We were in Chicago at a soccer tournament. They had auditions 2 hotels away. Oh. And she's like, oh, maybe another time. I said, that's the bad news. The good news is there's one left in LA on Saturday, and I'm jumping on a plane Friday. And this was Sunday night. And she looked at me and she said, yeah, right. I said, I'm jumping on a plane Friday. And she stood up and looked at me in the eye, and she said, what do you feel your chances of making the show are? And I said, 95%, 90%. She said, why? I said, we make great product. We've won national competitions. I know this business as well as anybody. I know it from conception to consumption. I don't rely on others. I figured this out. She goes, okay, print out the application because your handwriting sucks. I'll print it out. I'll fill it out. So that was the journey of Shark Tank, and ended up jumping on a plane, get there, only to see 5,000 people in line already at 10 o'clock at night, which 14 hours before, so you stand in line 17 hours for an audition. You have 2 minutes, 3 minutes to do your pitch. You know, 3 things happen, don't call us, we'll call you, you know, we need more, or, you know, go home and do another video. And so then it's just, there's a whole process involved. And, you know, it was an amazing experience. Everybody from ABC to Mark Burdett to Sony has just been great. The whole team, they're all professionals. They're energetic. They're obviously all looking for something new and exciting and different. And whether it's the product or the person, I think sometimes some of our products are just another product, but it's the person behind that product is what energizes, and whether it captivates them with the story or their children or their pets or whatever the case might be. So, you know, you always want to remember the tools at your disposal you have too to help maneuver through if it helps.
Absolutely. I once read about a study that was done where they went back and they looked at videotapes of all of these entrepreneurs pitching their businesses, not on Shark Tank, but to other investors in general. And they said that there were, hands down, 3 things that drew them to get the investment. And that was passion, confidence, and belief in themselves and their product.
Couldn't agree more.
And that's what I think has happened for you. I mean, you got a second invitation to come back.
Right. Yeah.
And but risks you took in between too. I mean, you could have gone home with your tail between your legs and said, you know, oh man, I failed, I didn't get a deal. But what did you do instead?
Well, there was a huge learning curve because a lot of things happened in the interim. Number one is I didn't get a deal, and obviously I filmed months before, so I knew I didn't get a deal, but we couldn't disclose that until you air, so you already know in your head, so you've got months to start preparing of what's going to happen if you air, because number 2, you don't even know if you're going to air. They film a lot of extra people, and you don't usually know for 10 days to 2 weeks before you air whether you're going to air. Okay, so it's very little notice. And so you just have to prepare yourself, and we did, and we learned a lot. Let's just say. I mean, some of it is almost a blur because you have to go out. You're out there for 4 or 5 days, and there's a whole process you have to go through, literally along the way. And it was just an amazing experience. But you know what? I did believe in myself from day one, even telling my wife that I'm gonna make the show. You know, and I was very lucky because we had a great videographer here in Peoria, a guy named Frank Blaine, and Frank did the video for me, and it was a 3-day filming just to do a video for like a 15-minute video to send back to him. And Frank actually believed in me more than I probably believed in myself. The second day, and he goes, "You're gonna make the show." I said, "Why? What do you mean?" He goes, "You bleed enthusiasm and passion." And he goes, "I've been doing this 25 plus years." He goes, "You're going to make the show. It's just a matter of time." And so I thought that was pretty cool. So I had a lot of belief in myself, and even standing in line out there for that 17 hours maneuvering, you know, I mean, it's just 20 people in front of you and 20 people behind you, and some of the stories and some of the products or some of the pitches. Wow. Let's just say they were interesting. Let's just say they were interesting. However, a lot of them I'm still friends with this day. They never filmed, never aired. Some of the ones that did film, we're all still friends, so it's pretty cool.
Well, that says a lot, obviously, about your character. You're willing to step out of your comfort zone with the business, but you're also willing to step out of your comfort zone when it comes to interacting with people. I have heard the story of Team Dave. That's an interesting one that I'd love for you to share.
That was when I got to the hotel that night and saw 5,000 people in line and went to go check in, and I'm like, oh, this is nuts. I'm not going to get any sleep. So I call my wife and I tell her, and I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to be sleeping tonight. And so as I'm checking in, we were in Culver City, California. This is where the audition was, at the Holiday Inn there. And so I'm checking in, this tall dude, like 6'5", 6'7". I look at him, I said, man, where are you from? He said, I'm from Orlando. Where are you from? I said, I'm from Peoria, Illinois. Are you here for Shark Tank? And he goes, I am. I said, here's the deal. I'm forming a team, Team Dave, and I'm the captain. You want to be on the team? He goes, yeah, what do I do? I said, you go stand in line. I'll go take a cab and go get us some lawn chairs and blankets. We're sleeping outside tonight. And I said, I'll be back in an hour. So I take a cab. I go to a sporting goods store. I see some other guy lost. Asked him the same thing. He's from Arkansas. Give him the pitch. He's like, yeah, let me get in your cab with you. He jumps in the cab. We have 3 lawn chairs, 3 blankets. By the time we get back, there's 500 more people behind this guy. And so already we're 500 spots ahead just by doing what we did. So the idea with that was just to have a place in line, literally. Sure. And it paid off just with that alone. But then the bathroom, the hotel was 3 blocks. You know, you got to go take a shower in the morning. You got to do whatever. At least we have our set in line now. So there was 3 of us on Team Dave.
But I think what that says is when you put yourself out there with a vision of something that can be, whether it's, you know, here's a vision of how we can have a better experience while we're waiting in this long line, right?
Right.
That says to other people, oh, this guy is worth following. You know, because right away they're going, sure, I'll be on Team Dave.
Right.
You know, I'll jump in and join that.
You know, and it's just like anything in life. People, all of us like a little guidance from time to time. And people, even our customers, that always say, hey, what do you got new? All you got to do is say, hey, you know what? Why don't you try this new recipe or something? I'll try it. Everybody wants a little guidance and a little motivation and a little prompt too, you know? And so that's all. I'm not afraid to take the bull by the horns. Actually, I like to lead. There's 3 types of people I always say: lead, follow, or get the heck out of the way. And I'm not about to start following anybody yet today. I have news for you.
Well, what you bring is contagious, I think. There's just an energy and an inspiration that comes from you that draws people in. That people find you compelling and someone that they want to follow and want to listen to.
Well, you know what? I just like to hopefully, my wife and I especially, come off as genuine and humble. You know, we've lived, been to hell and back a couple times. Let's just say that, between business and our daughter Jessica and the whole journey of life. But it's called life. Doesn't owe us a living, and it's going to go on and without us tomorrow, if that's the case, or whatever the case might be. So I don't have time for negativity. I don't have time for drama. I keep plowing forward. I like to surround myself with great people. I think that's another part of it. You're only as good as your people, and I believe our staff and my employees are world class. And if they don't, I just don't keep them. You know what? I mean, you just have to keep. It's not personal. It's just business. You have to surround yourself with great people, and you have to incentivize your people and reward your people when things are good for everybody. So, so that's what we've done. It's a different culture.
That's very good. You know, the second time that you went on, you took a risk and added another dimension because you weren't alone.
No, I took my son, the 4th generation. Yeah.
You took that 4th generation with you.
Jordan and Dawn both got to go out with me that year, so that was really special to have both of them out there. But Jordan, it was really, you look at him now, 3 years later, he looks like a baby back then. I mean, it's only 3 years ago, you know. But he's grown up quickly, and it was neat to have him out there, of course. And of course, you know, you film. I think we were in front of him for almost an hour and a half, and so what you see in television is 10 minutes.
Sure.
So there was a lot of good dialogue with Jordan and stuff too that you didn't see on television. So it was neat.
Very neat.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that you just mentioned, it's been 3 years now, or over 3 years now, since that second appearance
March of 2015.
and landing the deal. So what kind of additional risks has that opportunity enabled you to be able to make since then?
It's done a lot of things. It's gave me a lot of, the word I like to use is opportunity. Some I've taken, some I have not. Some, like the Walmarts and the Costcos of the world that want our brand, I really have never been interested in selling wholesale to put people between my brand. Nothing against any of them. They're all great companies. However, you learn about the brand today and you go into a Costco or a Walmart or a Sam's or wherever the case might be in California tomorrow with your family, and you're like, oh, this is the guy that was just on my interview yesterday, and somehow that product was moldy, out of date, whatever the case might be. It's a direct reflection on the brand. And so I've always just chosen to monitor my brand a little more closely and a little more to the vest. And so whether it's going on QVC and doing hundreds of thousands of dollars in 7 minutes and selling out, we do our own fulfillment. So we have cameras, we have our own processes, we have logistics down to a science. And so when it leaves our building, we know that about 1/10 of 1% will have an issue. And so that's next to nothing.
Fantastic.
So.
Well, priding yourself on that quality product is so important. It is about protecting your brand because that's everything.
I'm not going to
that's
chase
your
the money.
reputation.
And I'm not here to chase the money. I learned in the early days making summer sausage that I was losing money.
Yeah,
so
right.
so it's about making it count, measuring success, knowing we're profitable, making it work. And if it doesn't work for both of us, it's not really a win-win. If it's a one-sided deal, I want to build a relationship and have you become a customer for life. And whether it's at Christmas only or whether it's multiple times a year, whatever the case might be, you build a relationship.
And you've done that successfully because even when you didn't get a deal the first time, the Sharks all bought
They all became,
product,
a lot of them
right?
became
They
customers.
became
The show became customers, absolutely. And I'm on a personal texting basis with several. So we become friends, and they're all to this day customers. And some of them, interesting enough, even when they travel, we've shipped them stuff to it's like their kids enjoy our stuff. So it's been really neat. I mean, as I say, life is about connecting the dots. We're all just humans. They're all just people. They like to be treated the same 90% of the time. 10%, there's a place and time they want to be on their pedestal, which is great. But every other day, they're just normal people. So.
Absolutely. So corporate gifts, I understand, is another dimension that you branched out into.
We have. Corporate gifts, and I'd like to give a lot of credit to Brett Hack from Maui Gyms, because Maui Gyms, a world-class company here in Peoria, is very big in the corporate gifts market. And Brett and Karen from there have kind of been little mentors to me on the side along the way, telling me how to maneuver in some of these channels and what to do and how to do, because they're typically special markets that most people don't even know exist. It's not like hoping somebody comes to your retail site. It's somebody that's at Verizon or American Express that earns points or rewards, and you put your products into those programs, so then they go redeem your products with their points, and then Amex or Verizon pays us. So it's a whole different set of channels and processes and all that. And so it's a special markets, but it's a world-class industry, and it's billions and billions of dollars in that industry. And so we broke into it pretty hot and heavy with casinos and oil companies and different things, and we're just at the verge of it now, getting into it, and we're having a lot of fun with it, meeting some great people too.
So lots of growth has had to happen, obviously, to support adding those additional services to the business.
Absolutely.
So what kind of risk have you experienced that's associated with growth? I know a lot of businesses want to grow, but they don't know really how to do it in a smart way. They just view it as, oh, that's just too risky to get bigger. What have you experienced?
There's two reasons people fail in business: lack of knowledge or lack of money. And if you don't have, you need to have one or the other, and you better have somebody at your side that can help you with the one you don't have when you need help. Because number one, I don't care what it is in business, you're going to go 20 to 30% over the time to build out and be ready, and you're going to be 20 to 30% over budget. So no matter what, you're already in the black or in the red, so to say, in the red before you come out of the gate, because nobody anticipates. They think, oh, I've got this project and this is what it's going to be. It's never that easy. Every change order costs you money. Every time there's a delay, every time Mother Nature rains, every time anything. So that's why I've chosen, especially in my world, you go on to QVC and do hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I have to pay my bills in 7 days because the meat business is a little different, but they might pay you in 60 to 90 days. It's a whole different ballgame. Okay. So I've completely chosen to be slow, make sure it counts, and when I get that money, it counted. So I made my money, and I can afford to sit on it for a little bit of time, and I'm not in a hurry. So I think that's the biggest thing in business is be wise, be smart, be cautious, and take your time. Study what you don't know.
I think that's where we get the term a calculated risk, right?
Absolutely.
Is to make sure that you do that homework, that you know what you don't know, that you have people around you who can fill in the gaps of what you don't know or what is it that you need, and that you really know as much as you can about that venture before you actually get into it.
Or ask as many people that'll give you advice.
Ask some good questions.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I know a lot of newer entrepreneurs, I hope, are watching today's show. What advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur or someone just getting into business about the whole idea of risk?
Well, I mean, we can walk across the street and get hit by a car too. So there's risk on everything we do. There's no risk, no reward. You know, I always say, don't throw everything on one roll. You know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you're going to try something, make sure your family's protected. Make sure you're still protected, that if it doesn't fail, that you have plan B. I see a lot of people that put everything into one basket. Next thing you know, they're filing bankruptcy because there's no light at the end of the tunnel and no way out of it now. So I think you have to be smart, be wise, ask a lot of questions, know what you're getting yourself into. Make sure you have proper financing or cash flow or money or something on a reserve type basis. I think a reserve is always something we need, whether it's personal or in business, because you never know when tragedy is going to hit, something's going to come unexpected. And, you know, everybody's big thing in the world is, what's my payment going to be? Well, I mean, if we all live payment to payment, I mean, a lot of us have to, but still, you want to be smart and wise and be smart and plan, especially in business, strategic. And so cash flow is everything to us.
Okay. Well, I could imagine in a business like yours where you've gone way beyond just selling meat over the internet. I mean, you still do that.
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, that's the core.
Father's Day right now.
Right.
The website's blowing up.
Well, so do you have any specials coming up you'd like to tell us about?
We have some fillets and the twice bakes. Everything's on the website, and buy one, get one free on a deluxe sausage and cheese. And we're always running specials, absolutely.
Okay.
EchoValleyMeats.com is the easiest way to find us there. So,
awesome. Very good. So what's new on the horizon? What can your customers look forward to that might be coming up, or
Sure.
what are you thinking about doing?
Absolutely. So I like to start small. To me, success is continually adding layers as you go, and you start from the foundation and build upward. Failure to me is starting with so many items that 3/4 of them don't sell, and you're discarding them and going the wrong way. So I like to say that I'm going to add 4 to 6 items a year is all, and be very small and processed about it. So this year, probably in the next 60 days, we will have some different flavored salmon. We're going to have some smoked scallops. We've got some new chocolate desserts.
Yum.
We've got some like these pumpkin seeds. So we've been all over the country the last year. I had 2,100 samples sent in to me last year, and we picked 6 items. So that's how it really has to stand out and be different than everybody else in a wow factor. Probably next year, probably wine. So we've got a lot of people that want wine. So that'll Dawn and I will have to make trips to Napa and figure out the wine.
Oh, darn.
Yeah, right. the wines that we'll be bringing in. But so we're strategic, planned out. You know, I've always got like what I call a short-term, a mid-term, and a long-term range. And my long-term range is usually somewhere 5 to 10 years out.
Okay.
So it's always planning.
Well, and that's part of that smart risk taking, right? Is to have a plan.
Absolutely.
And to not have just a plan that gets you through the week or the month. It's looking further out.
I've been there, and that's no fun.
Yeah. I'm thinking about that. Well, it's been wonderful to have you as my guest today. Thank you so much. I know how very busy you are, and to have you take time out of that schedule to be here with us today is very, very near and dear to my heart. Thank you so much for doing so. I want to remind you that this theme will continue, this theme of risky business, throughout the rest of June. I am still, I still have some guest spots open, I should say, for the rest of the month. If you're interested in being a guest, you can email me at businessminds@email.com to learn more details. I would love to hear from you and have you share your insights about risky business. You can also follow, like us, and comment on the program on the Business Minds Facebook page. At Business Minds is another way, of course, to message me there as well. Thanks so much for tuning in today, and have a great rest of the day and a great week.
YourRealLife.com